Hi, I'm Shriram from Rocks. Rocks builds warehouse native revenue agents. Revenue data has moved twice in the last 30 years. First, from the data center to the cloud CRMs, and now from the CRM into the lakehouse. This series is about the new revenue stack that's emerging in companies transforming their go to market organizations to be AI native. In this episode, we go through the first question: why did the data get to the lakehouse? Start in the 90s. Siebel is a system of record. It runs on-premise in your data center on your hardware. By the early 2000s, Siebel owns nearly half the CRM market. Everything about the customer lives in one place: the contacts, the deals, the pipeline. You've got one vendor, one database, one system of record. It's painful to implement, but architecturally simple. Then, Salesforce becomes a CRM. The CRM moves to the cloud, and something else happens at the same time. The stack fragments. Support tickets go to one tool, marketing goes to another, enablement content, billing, product analytics go to another. Each one is a separate SaaS product with its own database. The CRM is still called the system of record, but each year it records a smaller share of what happens with your customers. The customer truth is now scattered across a dozen vendors. System of record and system of engagement splits. Which brings us to now. All of that data started flowing back into one place. And that one place was not the CRM. It was the lakehouse. Lakehouses like Snowflake, Databricks, BigQuery, or open formats like Iceberg and Delta that is sitting on top of object storage. Three streams feed into it. First is structured data. This is data that is in your business systems like CRMs, support, ERP, etc. Why is this the case? The industry moved to consumption pricing. That means a signed contract no longer guarantees a renewal. You need to earn the business every quarter, and every QBR starts with the same question: how much are they actually using? Answering that means joining your CRM data with product usage and support tickets. That telemetry is time series data, and it landed in the warehouse through CDPs and event pipelines. All your product usage data. Why did no one sync it back into the CRM? Mainly because CRMs struggle to represent time series data, which is product usage data, at scale. So the data stayed in the warehouse, and analysts and dashboards followed it there. The second stream is unstructured data. This is your emails, call transcripts, enablement docs that is sitting in Notion or Drive. None of it was ever unified with the CRM because until large language models, you couldn't extract structured meaning from it. Now you can. LLMs turn transcripts and email threads into signals you can join against your structured records. Stream 3 is public data. Contact and account enrichment, funding events, champion moves, everything on the public internet about your buyers. At Rocks, we bring over 1 billion contacts into the lakehouse through OEM data plus live enrichment across multiple providers. Put all these data together and you get the public and private data unified in your sovereign store that your company owns. Salesforce themselves has said that the majority of the data that is sitting in these data lakes is go-to-market data. The system of record today is no longer the CRM. It is the lakehouse. It's sovereign, proprietary to you, and the only place where a full customer picture exists. The CRM cannot hold this data. It cannot represent time series data, store unstructured content, and unify public or private data sources. This is why even Salesforce ships Sales Cloud and Data Cloud separately as two separate architectures inside its own product, with a bridge between them. For 20 years, the Lakehouse's only job has been analysis and dashboards. Looker, Tableau, so on and so forth. That constraint is now gone as the Lakehouse is now fast enough and open enough to be operational. This means agents can run directly on top of your system of record instead of on a stale copy inside someone else's CRM. And that changes what you can build on top of it. Now let's talk about an alternate architecture that we have seen in the field. This architecture contains an agent with MCP, and then your CRM, your recorders, and then your warehouse. Take the fragmented stack, bolt connectors on top, and point an agent at it. This architecture works in a demo, but look at what the agent inherits. Every question that you have crosses 3 or 4 system boundaries. It has its own permission model. There's no governance, and it's not multiplayer. There is also no shared definition of an account or an opportunity across these systems, so the agent stitches together entities at runtime by guesswork. Your agent also spends more than 90% of your tokens reading data from these systems and not reasoning. You typically end up token maxing because of this architecture in your org. This is the equivalent of a sequential scan versus an index in a database. Now you're doing the sequential scan on costly GPUs. Now, run the same agent on a revenue lake instead. There's one store, so there are no boundaries to cross. On top of it, you build a layer that maps what the data means, which is a knowledge graph. Every account, every contact, every deal resolved in one graph, and a governance layer on top that enforces who is allowed to see what in one place. You also get multiplayer now since you have governance enforced, and since you have an index, you spend less on tokens. On top of the governance layer, you still need APIs to read and write the data. You read the data from the lakehouse and you write the data back into the lakehouse or other business systems if you have not fully migrated into the lakehouse yet. With the API setup, you finally need a revenue-specific harness. This revenue-specific harness is used to run your agents. That is the full warehouse-native revenue stack, and by the end of the series, you will have seen every layer of it drawn on this board. So for the first episode, there are 3 takeaways from this session. 1, the go-to-market data already migrated out of the CRM into the lakehouse. 2, that makes the lakehouse, the system of record, the only place the full customer picture exists. 3, the lakehouse is now operational, which means you can run agents directly on your system of record instead of a stale copy. If you have these 3 in mind, you understand why everything in this series exists.